Hey, what is up guys, ImpulseEvan here, and today I'm bringing you guys another video. In this video, I'm going to be reacting to FNAF's newest video called My Final FNAF Security Breach Theory. Now, I don't know a lot about this video, but one thing I do know is that a bunch of theorists, including me and Ozone, I think Ozone, Ritos, ID, and me, were shouted out by him, which is cool, which is awesome. The funny thing is, 20 minutes after this video came out, I just finished recording my epilogue 7 summary, and I got a notification for a comment, and it was just like, bro just got shouted out by FNAF, and I was like, I did? Fun. And then I went and checked the video. I was curious, and I was like, oh yeah, I did. So I watched that little clip. I think it's around here somewhere. Yeah, there I am on the screen. But I haven't watched the video as a whole. Yeah, I'm excited to see what he actually has to say. I'm assuming it's gonna be about the Mimic again. I think that's what it's gonna be about. And I want to start this video by saying that I in no way dislike FNAF, even if I disagree with his theories, which I think he mentions when he talks about me. He's like, I often disagree with him, which I do, but that doesn't mean that I dislike him. He's a cool dude, and I do appreciate that he looks into the smaller details. Even if I don't agree with the outcomes, I appreciate that he looks into them in that way. Also, nice beard. I think that's everything to say. Oh yeah, after I checked the video, I got a notification on Discord, and it was from Ozone, who actually asked, have you seen it? And yeah, so yeah, I did, and I want to say thank you to him as well, because it did boost up my subscriber count. Like, the summaries were helping me out a little bit, so I was probably gonna hit like 13k probably today or something from those summary videos, but then he pushed me over the edge, and now I'm at 13.1k, I think, which is really cool. I just hit 13,000 subscribers, so I want to say thank you guys for watching my channel, and thank you FNAF for shouting me out. That was really nice of him. He didn't have to do that. So yeah, I just wanted to start with that, and we'll also make it there eventually. There's Ozone. We'll make it there at some point. 2 minutes in. So yeah, it's an 8-minute and 44-second video. I left a like already, so let's watch.
I told myself that I wasn't going to post any more FNAF theories on YouTube or Twitter until Ruin came out, but I felt that this video was important to make. In a very short amount of time, I went from a FNAF news channel to one of the biggest FNAF theorists on YouTube.
For real, yeah.
And with that comes a lot of pressure and...
I want to say, I actually watched his channel, like, back in the times Markiplier predicted the future FNAF. I think that was like one his videos that like really popped off, and I found his channel from that, and I subscribed to him from then, and I still am today. So
I've never been more scared
Sorry,
to
what?
post on YouTube, and with that comes a lot of pressure and hate. I've
Yeah.
never been more scared to post a FNAF theory on YouTube because I feel that pressure, and my mental health honestly just can't handle the hate. The reason that this has been happening is mostly because the new Tales from the Pizzaplex books. This effectively split the fandom in half between people who believe the Tales books take place in the games,
which I believe it does.
After reading and doing research, I came to the conclusion that I think the stories are parallels and don't take place in the games. Kind of like the Silver Eyes trilogy. The Silver Eyes trilogy has some of the exact same characters, events, and settings from the games, but they take place in a different continuity. That was, at least I think, the case for the Fazbear Frights books as well, and I think that's the case with the Tales books now. This is
the Fazbear Frights books are debated too. Some people say that like the Stitch Wraith stories and the stories connected to them also happen in the games. I don't necessarily think that's entirely true. I think that all the stories that take place before the events of FNAF 6 and all the events in the Stitch line that happened before the events of FNAF 6 did happen. So characters like Eleanor and Andrew, I think they exist in the games, and those stories that happened before FNAF 6 did happen in the games, but the ones that happen after, it's like a split timeline where one goes over to Security Breach and the other goes over to the Stitch line, the Stitch Wraith stories and stuff. And the side where it goes over to Security Breach, that's where Tales from the Pizzaplex happens, because I believe that happens in the games as well. I do understand not thinking that it happens in the games, and I don't like. Obviously, I don't hate him for that, and I respect him for making his own decisions. I just really disagree, but that's okay.
It's the opinion that's gotten me a ton of hate.
Yeah.
It's not just constructive criticism, it's actual people who are furious that I have this opinion and say terrible
That's
things
dumb.
about me
Why?
publicly in my DMs and in my business email.
That's stupid.
I've gotten a lot of comments saying that I'm a prominent theorist in the community now, and because of that, I'm misleading people into thinking these books are parallels. And I want to say that
it's not really
never make a
misleading, it's
theory
just
video
theorizing.
Just to be contrarian or to try and spread misinformation. Most of the time, cough cough, I genuinely believe what I'm saying. And I'm not going to say something I don't believe just because you think I'm wrong. Theorizing about this franchise is supposed to be fun, but recently it's turned into unhealthy debate and making people you disagree with.
I'm not gonna lie, that's not recent at all. That's been happening for a long time. And I completely agree. There's no reason to hate on somebody for a theory. It's FNAF. It's a game about bears and bunnies and chickens and stuff like that. We're theorizing about it because it's supposed to be fun. It's not a huge part of our lives unless you're a YouTuber like me or MatPat or FNAF. But it's not like a huge part of your life that's gonna be like, okay, I have to be mad if somebody disagrees with me. Like, that's just a dumb mindset to have when you're a theorist. You know what I mean?
Look dumb, especially on Twitter. Like I said, healthy debate and making people you disagree with look dumb, especially on Twitter. Like I said, I'm not gonna change what I say just because someone thinks I should believe what they believe. And beyond saying it's just a theory, I don't think what people choose to believe is a YouTuber's responsibility. But I do understand where the people who say this come from. I very quickly became a prominent theorist in the community, and I understand that my videos may drown out other people's theories. And I think the right thing for me to do in this situation is to encourage people to look at different perspectives. So I encourage you to check out other theorists in the community. Rye Toast and ID's Fantasy are probably people you've already heard of before.
What a nice guy.
But there's also people like The Ozone, who makes great videos. And also ImpulseEvan 37, who likes to review and react to my theories.
Oh, that's me.
Although he may disagree with me heavily most of the time, he's always respectful about it.
Yeah.
I don't agree with a lot of these people's theories, but I still respect them, and I think
exactly.
And not to mention,
you see, this is the mindset to have, right, guys? You shouldn't. You should just let other people theorize yourself, tell people your thoughts, give all the evidence so that they can make an informed decision themselves. Don't just blindly follow somebody just because they have a high status in the theory community, and don't just hate on somebody because they have a high status and believe things that you don't believe. The mindset to have is to let other people theorize, take in the evidence that they give you, and come to an informed decision by yourself, right? That's what theory videos are. Most theory videos have theory in the title. So, I mean, it's pretty easy to tell. It's a theory. It's not meant to be taken as fact. Maybe you can believe that there's enough evidence that it can be considered a fact, but we don't know for sure. Certain things we do know for sure, but in most cases, it is just a theory. It really is. So, yeah.
So many other theorists on YouTube, Reddit, and Twitter.
It's funny seeing me on screen next to him.
Especially when it comes to if the Tales books actually happened in the games. I'm sure you've heard about the Mimic by now. A killer robot that loves dressing up in costumes and holding a white tiger plushie in its hand. There's many reasons why I believe the Mimic to be a parallel of Glitchtrap and possibly Baby. The Mimic in the books has not once said anything about wanting to mimic William Afton. And it also has never taken the form of a bunny, at least yet. Two very important things that would connect it to Glitchtrap. The Mimic primarily presents itself as a white tiger in the books, just like the white tiger plushie that it liked carrying in its hand.
The tiger, well, yeah, that's because of the dude, David. And yeah, he doesn't appear as a bunny yet. He does appear in, like, in the Monty Within, a recent story. Spoilers ahead in case you haven't in case you haven't read the book, but this theory probably talks about this book as well. So, the Monty Within, he appears within an arcade machine and he copies Monty. So he basically appears in multiple different forms, but like he appears in multiple different forms, but in this case he's like the physical thing that he's inserted into is a white tiger. So that's why he, when the storyteller spreads all this stuff throughout the Pizzaplex, he infects the VR booth with the white tiger as well, inserting himself into that because that's the form that he's currently in. But in the VR game, he can be inserted into the VR game, and that's how Glitchtrap is created. And just because like we haven't heard him talk about mimicking William, but he can mimic multiple different things at once. Like in the epilogues, he's mimicking Edwin's anger and like aggressiveness, but at the same time he's still mimicking the things that he's observing around him. Like in the most recent epilogue, we see him mimicking what Jace was doing through the vents, right? So just because he hasn't talked about mimicking William and hasn't become a white tiger yet, doesn't mean that that's not what his overall character is.
The reason that I think this is a parallel to the games is because Glitchtrap literally turns into a rabbit plushie at the end of Help Wanted. Glitchtrap also tells Vanessa to make a bunny costume, just like how the Mimic likes wearing costumes in the books. And what do you need to do to talk to Glitchtrap in Help Wanted? Put on the Vanny mask and hold the bunny plushie in your hand, just like how the Mimic likes wearing costumes and holding the white tiger plushie. What happens in the books and the games are similar but look a little bit different. Edwin, who built
Or it's
the
just
Mimic in
different
the books,
scenarios
I think
within
is
the
a parallel
games.
to Henry and Edwin both
I don't
had
really
one
think
kid.
so.
Both kids died tragically. Edwin built a robotic vacuum cleaner. We see this robotic vacuum in Henry's pizzeria in FNAF 6. Although it may not connect 100%, the connections go on and on. I think that
I don't think the connections are really that solid. Which I talked about that in my recent Mimic theory. So if you haven't, you should watch that if you want. But I don't really think that the similarities between Edwin and Henry, I don't think there's that many between them. They do both have children that die, but Henry actually has 2 children, and he's also not a single father because he has his wife with him and he has a son as well. And they leave after Charlie dies. But in the story, in the Mimic, Edwin is a single father with only 1 child who dies. So it's not really the same, in my opinion.
Parallel to Baby. I think that the original Mimic that Edwin built in the books is a parallel to Baby.
I don't think so.
Because the first costume that the Mimic puts on in the books is a jester costume, which is what Baby was designed to look like.
I mean, she's just a clown, but sure.
Were sent to Edwin's abandoned warehouse to collect the Mimic, just like how there were Fazbear Entertainment workers sent to the abandoned sister location bunker in Night.
Oh yeah, and also that's technically not the only the first costume that he wore. He technically wore an alligator costume, and he was doing that. Him wearing costumes is mimicking David, who was wearing costumes, and then it just copied David doing that.
To look like. Fazbear Entertainment workers were sent to Edwin's abandoned warehouse to collect the Mimic.
And you wore the alligator one first.
Fazbear Entertainment workers sent to the abandoned sister location bunker in Night 4.
It sounds like someone else is in the building.
That was for Ballora,
the
though.
Mimic kills one of the Fazbear workers by hanging him on a clothes hanger, which is similar to how the workers in the sister location bunker died.
That is kind of fair.
Mimic people's voices, something that Baby does in sister location.
We need you so that we can leave.
We need you so that we can leave.
The Mimic.
That's not really a Baby thing. That's more of an Ennard thing because, well, it's Ennard at the time, and Ennard has Funtime Foxy or Freddy. I can't remember which one has voice mimic and which one has parental thing or whatever. I know one of them has voice mimic, but I don't remember which one. I think it's Freddy. I think people mistake it as being Foxy, but I'm pretty sure it's Freddy that has voice mimic. Let me actually check. I'm gonna Google it right now. Funtime Freddy blueprints. And right here it says yeah, Funtime Freddy has voice mimic. And does Foxy? I'm pretty sure he doesn't. It doesn't really matter. I'm just saying that Baby's not the one with the voice mimic. Funtime Foxy is. Yeah, Funtime Foxy has parental voice sync and replay. Okay. All right.
Was left behind by Edwin, which is something that Baby said happened to her.
What is bad is always left behind.
Minor spoiler for the newest Tales book, but in the story Tiger Rock, the white tiger takes the form of a clock. The white clock had a face, not just a clock face, but an actual face. The clock had 2 eyes, a round black nose, and a wide, toothy smile. It appeared to be made of metal, and the face was outlined in black. The clock then goes on to open its eyes to reveal 1 blue eye and 1 green eye. Does this sound familiar? Well, that's because
Baby has green eye and a blue eye,
big
maybe.
White clock outlined in black with Baby's face on it. The
Is that a
tiger
clock?
animatronic in the
A
books
clock?
has 1 blue eye and 1 green eye. Baby's eyes were originally blue.
Yeah, and then
before
changed to green.
after
That's
she
fair.
was
That's
sick.
actually fair.
It's connections like the clock that are so specific that it's hard for me not to point it out. Could it mean nothing? Maybe. But I think it's fun and valid to point out nonetheless.
It is valid.
So
I
this
understand
virus
that.
that is ruining the Pizzaplex in the books is a mimic virus, and I think the mimic in the games is Baby. The virus that we see in the games must have come from Baby in some way. This is how I got to the connection with the chip in Baby's arm. Her whole speech in Night 5 of Sister Location is all about that chip. She tells us to save what is good, aka the chip.
I want you to save what is good, so the rest can be destroyed and never recovered.
We then enter a very long passcode to get to that chip.
There is a passcode that you must enter before you can retrieve me.
It's not until we take that chip that she says we can destroy her body.
I want you to destroy this body.
A lot of people said that that chip is just so she can keep communicating with us, since she tells us to put it into hand unit.
Put the card into your handheld device, and I can continue to speak to you.
But it was more than that. The reason she's able to still speak with us when we put the chip into hand unit is because she is inside that chip. She literally tells us by grabbing that chip, we are retrieving her.
There is a passcode that you must enter before you can retrieve me.
This is why, throughout Sister Location, Baby always talks to us as if Elizabeth is a separate person.
Isn't
All right.
this why
Okay.
you came?
I'm gonna pause now. Okay. I wanted to let him keep going to see if he would say anything different. Okay. So that thing, the reason that I don't think that chip means anything is, well, because Baby at this point is already entered. The baby animatronic is already basically just an empty husk, so I don't see why that chip would contain her or anything. And the thing about that is that, well, yeah, the chip is, she says that it's just so that we can, it's so that we can continue to talk to each other. And then what happens is you put it into hand unit, which you're not always like holding. You usually have it probably on your back or on like your side or something. So what that is well, Baby is literally, what Baby is doing is she is inside entered and trying to get you to go to the scooping room, and trying to communicate to you along the way, right? And as we're on our way to the scooping room, if we go off path, Ennard kills us, meaning that Ennard is behind us, following us the entire time to make sure that we go on the right path, right? So basically what that means is that Baby tells us to use that thing, put it inside hand unit so that she can talk to us, while in reality the chip isn't actually doing anything. What's happening is Ennard's behind us and just talking to us, and that makes Michael think that it's just coming from hand unit, which is on his side or on his back or whatever. That's what I think the chip is. I don't think it actually has anything to do with like retrieving Baby, because at this point what she's trying to do is literally try to kill us. What she's trying to do is an evil plan. So her trying to tell us to retrieve a good part of her doesn't really make sense in this context.
To be with her again. I still hear her sometimes.
But in FNAF 6, once that chip is out of Baby, she's now talking as if she is Elizabeth.
I will make you proud, Daddy.
That virus was taking over Baby throughout the entirety of Sister Location. But now that virus resides in hand unit, the thing we plugged the chip into. And once Michael gets scooped, I can't imagine that he took hand unit with him when he left. So that must mean that hand unit with the chip in it must still be in that Sister Location bunker for Fazbear Entertainment to find. In Help Wanted, we learned that the developers of the VR game scanned some old circuit boards into the game to cut corners on development. And the voice that narrates that game sounds very familiar.
Welcome to the Freddy Fazbear virtual experience.
Welcome to the first day of your exciting new career.
I think in order to get a narrator...
I mean, both are hand unit, but the difference is, though, the thing is that hand unit existed in FNAF 6 as well, so wouldn't that mean that in that case that the chip would also be in FNAF 6? Well, no, because, well, the chip isn't in FNAF 6. It's just, it's the same voice, but it's a different character. In Sister Location, it's hand unit. In FNAF 6 and Help Wanted, it's supposed to be tutorial unit, which is just telling you everything that you're supposed to do. So, and yeah, she does like switch personalities kind of, but the point is, well, we see this in the fourth closet too, where basically she has both memories, both from Circus Baby and from Elizabeth. They're two separate entities that are inside one body at the same time, and she's kind of communicating with both at the same time. It just so happens that in Sister Location, she's more so using the Circus Baby programming, while in FNAF 6, well, she's with her father now, which is why she is more closely tied to Elizabeth specifically, well, because she's with her father. So, and like Elizabeth's whole goal is kind of like make her father proud, you know?
The circuit board from hand unit into the game. And they got hand unit's voice, but they also got the virus from that chip along with it. Whether you agree with me or not, I think that chip that was stuck into hand unit is a big loose thread that I don't think ends with Michael getting scooped. In the books, we learned that
I just don't think it means
built
anything.
A bunch of version 2s of the original Mimic that are now presumably being used for the Glamrock animatronics. And if I'm saying that the original Mimic in the game was a fun,
I'm pretty sure they're not.
And the main feature of the Fun Times that no other animatronic in this series has is stomach hatches, that would mean that Fazbear Entertainment's version 2s of the Fun Times are the Glamrocks, who also have the one feature that only the Fun Times possess, stomach hatches. Gregory even jokes about becoming a meat pretzel at the beginning of the game, which is how Elizabeth died.
Okay, but you better be careful moving around. I don't want to be crushed and twisted into a meat pretzel.
Oh, that's ironic. This video was meant to help you understand why I'm saying the things I am. You don't have to agree with me at all. I just think it's important to clarify where I'm coming from. Once again, I encourage you to go listen to other theorists and get their perspective about what they think is going on. I want to bring back healthy theorizing because things are kind of getting out of control. Please be nice and respectful to people who disagree with your theories. I hope you enjoyed my final FNAF security breach theory. Until FNAF security breach Ruin comes out.
Of course.
See what I did there?
Okay. Alright, so, I completely understand where he's coming from. I just don't think that the chip really has anything to do with the story. I think it's really just that she was trying to get us to... Well, she's trying to make us not suspicious when she hears our voice coming from behind us. You know what I mean? And I don't think that the chip actually has anything like specific lore-wise. And I don't really think that the mimic endoskeletons are what were used for the Glamrock animatronics, because those version 2s. The version 2s were, like, their models were in the manual, which was in FNAF 6, which like, in the burned down FNAF 6 location, meaning that the version 2s already existed before FNAF 6, and therefore were not in the Glamrocks. And the Model 1 was the original one that Edwin created, and then that's the same one that ends up in the epilogues in the FNAF 6 location. But the version 2s were just other ones that were created for some reason, which we don't really know what they were made for, but they were made, but probably not for the Glamrocks, because they existed before FNAF 6. But, yeah, I completely understand where he's coming from. I don't think that there's, like, anything inherently wrong with, like, with the theory. Well, I mean, I do think that there's some issues with the theory, and I've explained, like, why I don't agree with it in this video already, but I do, like, understand where he's coming from, like I said. So yeah, don't hate on him, and also don't hate on me for disagreeing. You know what I mean? Like he said, it's just theorizing. We're only talking about things. We're talking about a funny bear game, so there's no reason to get heated in arguments just because we disagree with each other. That's what theorizing is all about. The whole story is really, like, complex, and everybody has different views. So if we argue over the views, then, like, what's the point? Because, like, we can debate. I don't like debating, but we can debate, but we shouldn't get mad at each other for disagreeing. So yeah, I think this was a good video, even though I disagree with the theory. I agree with, like, his original stance on, like, don't hate on people for theories and stuff. But I'm going to end the video there. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and if you did, make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you want to, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye, guys!